Welcome back. So let's use Python tutor to see what really happens when we have a function call involving arguments. Okay, so I have my function definition here, and all I'm going to do is to say print the message. Okay, and for now I simply have some code here on line 1 and some code after the function call, okay, on lines 10 and 11, because as you know we can mix code with function calls. Okay, so if we click next, notice 5 is in the global frame, so is messenger. Okay, messenger is also in the global frame. So what I mean by the global frame is that the variables, the function definitions, are actually outside any function call. Okay, so if we contrast that to when we actually call a function on line 9, notice that an individual space is created where that function is run, and we say that whatever is inside this function is local to the function as opposed to global, which is the entire program. Okay, so we have a global frame and we have a local frame. Okay, so what Python has done is to leave the global frame and it has gone into this local frame where it will execute the function. Alright, so we jump from line 9 to line 3. Okay, a local frame is created, and notice that the parameter message has been substituted with the actual argument of welcome lady. So remember, this parameter, the names of the parameters are just placeholders. They're temporary holders for the actual argument. Okay, so you would expect that when we execute line 4, it will simply print welcome lady, and it returns nothing. Alright, okay, so what happens next? Well, notice that when we are finished with executing the code inside the function, this local frame will be destroyed by Python. Okay, and so we're back now in the global frame. So in the global frame, we're going to create another variable called y, which has 7. And then we're going to say that z is x plus y. Okay. Now, we have 3 variables and 1 function definition inside our global frame. Alright, so let me edit this code and let me create a second parameter. Let's call this count. How many times we want the message to be displayed. And so I could easily put a number here, an integer, let's say 3. But I will instead put a variable. So what I want to do is to say that message is actually this. Okay, we're going to take this out of here. And then I'm going to say that message count is maybe 3. Okay, so I'm going to say the first argument will be message and the second argument will be message count. So why do I use variable names instead? Well, it makes it easier for me when I want to test my program, whereby I want to change the different messages or the different number of times those messages are displayed. Alright, so instead of having to make that change here inside the function call, I simply make it on line 9 or line 10. Alright, so just a minor change. It's always advisable to use variables for your arguments. as opposed to placing the hard-coded values inside. So I have two parameters, so I must have two arguments. Okay, let's try executing again. So next, alright, next. Okay, so I have my message defined in my global frame. I have the count also in the global frame. So now when we call the function, okay, it inherits message and count being welcome lady and 3. So let me go back. I never did change my function. Let's change it. Let's say for I in range, and let's say count. Okay, 1 2 3 4. Okay, so let's execute. Okay, so it's gonna do notice count is 3, so we're gonna do I0, and then it does welcome lady, and then I will be incremented to 1, and so it will print the message once more, and then it will increment I to 2, and then of course it will do welcome lady one more time. Okay, and incrementing I to 3 will say that the function will not execute the loop anymore, as you learned in the previous unit. So when we execute again, we leave the function and we go back to the line that is after the function call, which is on line 13, which is just a variable creation. Okay, and likewise on line 14. Okay, so to summarize, if you have two parameters, you should have two arguments. And whenever we execute a function, meaning we do a function call, the Python will leave the global frame and it will create an individual frame or space for that function to run in. And once that function has finished doing what it needs to do, then that personal space for the function will be destroyed and Python will return to the global frame. Alright, great. I'll see you in the next lesson where we will discuss how to return values from a function. I will see you then.